How to Tuna with the Pros is the first ever how-to tuna fishing tape ever filmed aboard many of San Diego's best long-range boats. We spent over 3 years getting this footage, and we're sure that this tape will help you get started in tuna fishing. And for the experienced angler, this tape will help you land that tuna of a lifetime. In the early days, tuna fishing was something that was mainly done by commercial fishermen. Unlike the commercial fishing boats of today that can easily wrap a whole school of fish in one pass and who use small helicopters to help them find the fish, the old commercial fishermen of yesterday was a lot like today's sportsmen who used to battle one fish at a time using a cane rod and one hook. As in the past, San Diego is still home to the world's largest fleet of long-range sport boats. Today's sport fishers are nothing more than floating fishing resorts, complete with fine foods and with an experienced crew to help you hook that tuna of a lifetime. Well, even though we haven't gone far yet, for most of these anglers on board, this trip has started months ago, going to seminars, reading up on tuna fishing, and getting prepared for this trip. Now the first stop that we'll make on this trip will be at the bait receiver. Well, once we get tied up here at the bait receiver, the crew will turn all business. Nothing else will get done till all the boat's bait tanks are filled. And sometimes this can take hours, as the crew will work slowly and carefully not to damage the live baits. The crew knows that the more live baits we have, the better chance we'll have at getting a lot of tuna. With all the boat's bait tanks filled, it's time to wash off the deck and make the long trip south into the tuna grounds. With the beautiful sunset, all that's left is to pick up a snack in the galley and call it a day.
Actually, the equipment we use for finding the fish, a lot of the fishing that we did this trip and it's typical summer fishing is visual signs on the surface. We're looking for kelp patties, we're looking for birds, we're looking for jumpers. Just any visual sign that indicates fish, and there's quite a few of them, sometimes just the way the water looks. But once we get over into a particular area of fish, where we think there's fish, we're always looking at the machines. The machines tell it just about everything. We can go up on a kelp patty, and I can tell you before we even get close enough to stop whether there's something on it or not. And I do that with this. This is a side scanning Westmore sonar, and it'll look out as far as 1,000 feet, but accuracy on the size of the fish and the size of the schools that we're looking, I think we're best off when we're looking at 600-foot range. So we have the capabilities at all times to look out around the sides of the boat. I look at 180 degrees. This is the center, this is us. So we're looking from side to side, 600 feet, and in a semicircle, 600 feet away from the boat. So like when we go up on a bird school, when we go on a kelp patty, jumpers, whatever, I always check the thing out, the school out, whatever we're going to be fishing with the machines. And sometimes it's not worth our time or a waste of bait to stop on things. And how we know that is by how much fish is actually there with the side scanning sonar. And once we see it on the sonar, let's say I saw a school of fish out here to 20 degrees to the port, 600 feet. We start going towards it. Communication with the stern, I'm telling the guys stand by, stand by, stand by. And you don't necessarily want to throw bait or try to get on a school that you can't drive over. That's another really good indication if it's biting fish or if it's fish that's just trying to stay away from the boat. If you can get them on the sonar but you can't get them to come underneath the boat, you may as well not even stop. It's just things that we've learned over the years and communication with the other skippers and things. But so we're looking for the stuff out away from the boat with the sonar, and then we're trying to ultimately get it to come under the boat, and that's where we use this machine here. This is looking straight down underneath the boat. It's a fixed beam at a 33-degree angle. So once we start seeing them from this machine to this machine, that's when we'll start throwing bait, do our circle, and if they continue to stay under the boat, we'll stop, and hopefully the fish will start biting. So those are the two machines that are the most used as far as visually seeing the fish underneath the water. But everything else is used. This particular machine here is the radar, and the radar, what it does is it shows you everything above the surface of the water. That's more of a navigational aid than it is a fish finding piece of equipment, but it's all used in correlation. Like 2 or 3 boats will be out westy and northwesty, and you'll hear them on the radio say, yeah, we're getting this or we're getting that. And at that point, you'd look for them, with the radar. Not only punch them into your GPS, which is your positioning machines. Put in their position, you get your course and a distance, but you start looking for them on the radar, and you watch for indications of lines of fish. Fish usually, when they're an area of them are in some sort of a configuration. It might be a northeast-southwest line, it might be a northwest-southeast line, whatever. As you're coming into an area of boats that are stopped, you're always looking at the radar to see what configuration that area might be. It's just another tool that you use. Water temperature gauge up here, that's something this time of year that's critical, especially in bluefin tuna fishing. It's absolutely critical. The bluefin will get on a little water break that's maybe 4/10 or 5/10. For instance, it's 68.5 now. We might come across an edge of water that goes to 68.9. Doesn't seem like any big deal. If it's a real sharp edge, those fish will lay right up against that edge. They'll be in that 68.9. And you can zigzag back and forth on that edge, and you'll come into the warm side, you see fish. Go into the cold side, nothing, and you just kind of try to locate stuff that way too. That's another tool we use for finding the schools. And then the GPS stuff, this is the navigation gear. This is what shows you your position. And it's accurate. It's accurate within about 7 to 10 meters anywhere in the world. This particular machine right now, I got punched in San Diego. It shows us we're doing a.
Well, even though today's modern sport fisher is loaded with all kinds of electronics to help the skipper find the fish, a lot of fishing still comes down to the crew members using binoculars and spotting jumping fish. Another thing the crew looks for is anything floating, like kelp patties. Kelp patties is probably the best way to find volumes of fish when out in the tuna grounds.
Okay, hi, my name is ROLLO HEYN from the Royal Polaris in San Diego out of Fisherman's Landing. Before you come long-range fishing for tuna, there's a few things I'd like to talk to you about in the way of tackle, proper tackle. First off, the size of the fish indicates what size gear you're going to use. If you're going to be fishing for school-sized yellowfin from anywhere from 10 to 40 pounds, or bluefin in that same range, normally a 25 to 40 pound test outfit would be more than adequate. A Newell 338, a Penn 500 Jigmaster, or a Daiwa SL50 would be an excellent choice. Something you can cast, but still feel comfortable with fighting a fish. 30 or 40 pound line is what we use the most of, and always use a high quality line. Berkley Big Game, Andy, Maxima, Iserline, all big names work the best. Coupled with a nice light to medium action rod such as a 665, Calstar or Sabre, 865XH. The list goes on and on, but something roughly 6 to 7 feet in length. Something, once again, that you can cast. but not too long that it would hurt you when you're fighting a fish. On the terminal tackle end of this outfit, we'd like to suggest the number 2-0, 3-0, or 4-aught size live bait style hook. This is used for fishing with live sardines or live anchovies. As the fly fishermen say, match the hatch. Match the size of the hook with the size of the bait you're going to be using. Live sardines and anchovies are just about always the best selection for fishing for tuna. Now, once we get into a little bigger fish, say fish in the 30 to 60 pound range, as we often encounter at Aleos Rocks or offshore San Diego, you want to start stepping up your tackle a little bit. We like to suggest a Penn 4-aught 1/13/8 Senator, the Penn 4.0 GL lever drag reel, or the Penn 30 wides, 30 TWs, things like that. The 2-speeds are excellent selections. 50 or 60 pound test completes your line on here. For rods, once again, something in the 6 to 6.5 foot range works excellent. The numbers are far too numerous to mention here. 660 XH, 64, 65H. Go to your local tackle dealer and see what they think is the best. Once again, something not too long, but something that you feel comfortable casting with. As far as what size hook to use, you're going to be using bigger line, so therefore you're probably going to be using bigger bait. We would suggest a 4-aught, 5-aught, or 6-aught hook, okay? And speaking of hooks, especially when you get into larger size tuna, we recommend the owners or the Hayabusas. We call them the designer hooks. They cost more, but they're worth every penny. They never straighten out, and they don't break, and they are very, very sharp. We have landed tuna up to 275 pounds on little 2-aught style owner hooks. They work the best for bigger fish, so don't be shy about using something like that. Now that was for the 30 to 60 pound fish. Now, on long trips, 16 through 18 days, when we encounter the yellowfin tuna up to and over 300 pounds, we would suggest international style reels, lever drag reels, Penn 50 wides, Penn 50s, Penn 80s. The Shimano TLDs go up to the 50 to 80 size is good. The Shimano Tiagra is an excellent selection also. Lever drag as opposed to star drag, and 2-speed all the way. You gotta have it. 2-speeds work so good that we don't know how we ever caught big fish without them in years past. They'll make you an expert overnight. They're the best. 80 or 100 pound test fits the bill here. Fishing with larger baits such as large salami mackerel or scad, or even chunks work excellent also. Heavy line. You've got to have heavy line for the abrasion resistance. The fish don't seem to care, especially when you're eating a bait that's 2 to 4 pounds in weight. Okay? On the bottom end, as far as what hook you want to use, if you're using a live sardine for these big tuna, which work good in seasons past, I'd recommend a 2-aught, 3-aught, or 4-aught style owner hook. These are the best, like we said, for holding big fish, even though they're very, very small. And fishing with live sardines for the bigger tuna, we tie directly to the hook. No leader required. However, on the long trips, many times, such as I said, we're using large mackerel anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds in weight. That's when the best rig you can use is a heavy mono leader. 150, 175, or 200 pound test, approximately 3 feet in length. On the top end, you have a black 4-aught McMahon swivel. You can tie the knot, or you can crimp, whatever you like to do. On the bottom end, a Mustad 7691, number 7-aught or 8-aught, big game style hook. This rig here, the heavy mono leader, seems to be the most effective for landing big fish. We under Royal Polaris have the most confidence in you landing a big one using a rig like this. So that's for live bait and for chunks, for big tuna. Many times, fishing down at the Revilla Tejedo Islands, fishing with the kite is an excellent way to land big fish when they won't bite anything else. When you're using a kite, once again, you want to use a large 6-aught, 7-aught, or even 8-aught style 7691 big game hook. We accompany that with a 3 to 6 foot piece of 275 pound 7-strand wire. This works the best on the kite. And also a 4-aught black McMahon swivel on your top end. The reason we're using heavy wire fishing with the kite method is because you can get away with it. Your bait is never submerged. It's usually right near the surface, just skipping on the top, making a commotion. Therefore, the fish never sees the hook, and he never sees the leader because that's out of the water. If you can get away with big gear, do it. You're playing in their ballpark. You need every advantage you can. Okay? Just above either our heavy wire leaders or our heavy mono leaders, the crew on here always likes to suggest tying a short bimini twist or spider hitch, which is a double line. It just gives you added strength above it and extra protection. For big game fishing, fishing for large tuna, there's no way to take a short stop around buying the best tackle money can buy. Always buy the best, because you're fishing where the best fishing is going to be. The World Series of fishing, this is no time to skimp on tackle. Going fine would be a jig casting outfit with a jig master reel, a Penn 4-aught 113H, or the equivalent of something with a high-speed retrieve, and 40 or 50-pound line. Okay, a nice 6 to 6.5 foot rod complements your outfit. On this end of my line, I'd have my favorite casting jig. Here I have a Taddy A1, a Taddy 9, a Salis 6X Junior, whoops, like so, in the macro color, blue and white, or scrambled egg, or chrome, okay? You have the choice of either going with a treble hook or a single hook. That's entirely up to you. With the single hook, it's much easier to release fish. Keep that in mind, and they bite them just as good, okay? If you don't have these jigs, we've got them for sale. One thing about using a jig, it works good, but if we encounter Dorado tomorrow, don't use jigs. They'll bite them just fine, but they're very, very dangerous, because every time they bite one, they come jumping out of the water, the jigs go flying, you can guess the rest, okay? If we see a Dorado, don't use the jigs, use the bait. They'll bite that much better, okay? One thing about using jigs, especially tomorrow's type of fishing, is if you want to cast out jig fishing, this kind of kelp patty style fishing, do it on the downwind side of the boat. All the bait fishermen will be on the upwind side. Okay? If you're going to use a jig tomorrow, use it downwind. Cast away from everybody else. Okay? Now, a couple words about the bait fishing. This style of fishing, this offshore, looking for kelp patty type fishing, is always going to be with all the people on one side of the boat or the other. Now, here's a couple of good rules to remember with bait fishing. There's no bottom out here, so we're going to be drifting. Okay? Remember this. The wind in your face, and you're in the right place. Because the wind in your face, it will blow the boat away, and your line will go away from you. Wind in your face, you're in the right place. If you fish with the wind at your back, your line will go under the boat. And not only will you not catch any fish, but you got a real good chance of wrapping somebody up on the other side. Wind at your back, and you'll have nothing in your sack. Remember that. You'll do good. Okay? A lot of people see a tangle or something like that. I don't want to go over there. They're trying to fish the wrong side. We'll be reminding you, fish with the wind in your face. And one secret, I'll let you in on because I like all you. The bow is a great place to fish. I do this all the time. The bow is a great place to fish, and there's a bait tank up there. Because big boats like the Royal Polaris here, we drift stern first. The boat drifts just like this. So all your lines are going to end up in the front eventually. Why not fish up there to start? Works good. But once again, the wind in your face, okay? Now, you got to keep moving all the time when we're doing this kind of fishing because the boat's always drifting. You got to keep moving, keep shuffling, always paying attention to your line. So we'll be telling you to be constant oral help out there. Keep moving left or right. This side of the boat over here, for those who don't know, is the starboard side, the right side of the boat. This is the port side, the left side. So tomorrow, when Brian comes on the PA and says, okay, folks, we're going to fish with the port side of the boat, you all know where to go. Not half you over here and half you over there. You make me look good this way, okay? Wind in your face, you'll be in the right place. Now, hopefully there'll be just a little breeze. Using the live sardines. Let's get into that right now. We've already had quite a bit of bait left over from last trip, so that's why we were able to come and go out of the receiver area pretty quick there, which helps, because we should put a few hours between us and the other vessel there, which is always nice. Now we got nice, beautiful live sardines, And let me say something about them. Sardines are one of the finest baits you can use in Southern California and Baja California fishing. Okay, they're the finest, but they're very, very fragile. Okay, you got to handle them gently. That's why we did nice light scoops instead of big, heavy ones. They'll live better. You got to really be gentle with it. If you grab your bait and your hands look like this after, you're doing it wrong. Okay, when they lose their scales, that's their slime layer. It's just like you falling out of a truck on the freeway going 60 miles an hour. Okay, they get a big rash on them. They're no good. You've got to handle them very gently. What I like to do even is wet my hand in a bait tank before I grab one. Handle them very gently, and the two main ways to hook them, if I can get my hook out, are crossways through the nose, like so. They swim good like this, and they live the best. Okay. Or the other way, which a lot of the guys like to do, is right in the middle of the belly, you'll notice there's two little fins, right in the middle here, not in the hole and not up here in the gills, right in the middle. If you take your hook and you insert it right there in that little muscle tissue, very lightly, man, your bait really swims good, okay? It hangs just about like that. Now this guy doesn't look very good, obviously. They swim really good like that. The only bummer with this method is if you put a little too much English on the cast, they come flying off, okay? So when I hook my baits like this, I'm trying not to make too big of a mess here. When I hook my baits like this, I just like to underhand them out, just like so. They hit the water, man, they really swim good. Now one thing to remember about using live baits such as sardines is they hit the water and they really start swimming. They get over here and they see about a 30-pound yellowfin. So they start swimming over here and they see about a 20-pound Dorado. And at this time they register like, you know, being in the boat wasn't that bad of a place to be. And if you're not paying attention, if you're not just paying line out like so, there's a real good chance your line goes right out and right back under the boat. And you're doing what we call wishing and not fishing. Okay? Pay attention. It's very, very important. It'll make you a better fisher person. If your bait hits the water and doesn't take off right away, backpedal your spool, just like so. If that still doesn't catch up to it, drastic measures, put the reel in gear and tighten up. The good fisherman will tell you that 90% of the fishing is done right here. It's all in the feel. If you don't feel that vibration, something's wrong. Don't just pay line out. Okay? I can't tell you how many times it happened, and I know it'll happen this trip. Huge tangle somewhere. Whose line is this? Come on, guys, tighten up your slack. Nobody whined. We're pulling line and pulling line. Pretty soon we follow it over, and there's a guy still sitting on the rails going like this. Don't let this happen to you. Okay? You've got to be in touch, not just for yourself, but for everybody else that's fishing. Okay? Very important. For you beginners, this kind of fishing with no sinker and using a live bait, remember, that bait hits the water out there. If he doesn't start swimming, tighten up. This kind of fishing is done with your reel and free spool. Okay? You don't just throw it out there and wait. You got to let that bait, whoops, you got to let that bait swim. Always stay in touch. If he's not swimming, find out why. I can't say that enough. Okay? If he's not swimming, get a new bait on. We got plenty. Okay? But you can't just pay it out there. Okay, now your bait's swimming, he's getting out there, he's swimming good. You can usually tell when you're going to get a bite because all of a sudden you get that shudder. We call it the shudder of death. You just know right after that, here it comes. Your bait speeds up, it goes rrr, rap. That rap is the bait hitting the back of the fish's throat. What always gets me is I'll see guys out here and I can hear them getting bit. So, the line's just smoking off the reel and the guy's going 1, 2, 3. If you wait till the count of 10, there's a good chance that bait has gone through and coming out the other side. Okay? This kind of fishing, like the yellowfin tuna, yellowtail, things like that, when we're chumming, I hope you'll see it this trip, you're chumming, you just see the baits hit the water, the fish gets about this far away and they go, they swim by it, it's gone. They don't take it and run a little bit over here, turn it around a little bit over here. If they miss it, their buddy's going to get it. Okay? It's survival of the fittest out here. So pay attention. You feel that wrap, the line starts to go off the reel, just give it a couple seconds, if that. Put it in gear, get your slack out, and set the hook. Many times, the really good fishermen, you'll see them get bit, they put the reel in gear, they tighten up, and just like you're lifting. You don't have to give that big freshwater bass swing. Just get it tight, just like you're trying to lift one over the rail. Just get it tight, that's everything. Many times, tunas and yellowtail, they'll eat the bait, and Dorados, you set the hook and they'll come at you shaking their head. Okay? Just keep winding until you get a nice bend in your rod. When the line starts going off you real good, you got one. You don't have to set it anymore. Okay? Now, let's talk about bait tank etiquette real quick here. You know, one of the first things you learn, like I learned when I started going half-day fishing and things like that in LA County, was leave your rod at the rail when you go to the bait tank. Well, forget that in long-range fishing. Just throw that right out the window. Because a lot of times we have a lot of business, a lot of fish going on, things like that. If you leave your rod at the rail when you go to the bait tank, there's a very good chance that while you're getting a bait, somebody's come by, they kicked over your rod, not on purpose. Your rod hits the deck, you got a huge backlash, a broken guide, and a bad attitude. So for that reason, on big boats such as the Royal Polaris, take your rod to the bait tank with you. Whoops. Select a bait of choice, put it on your hook, and go fishing. Okay? You don't have to worry about sticking a deckhand in the eye or anything like that. It's a big boat, it's a big bait tank. Take your rod and stand by and wait for the word, put a bait on and go fishing. Please, folks, remember, all the bait that you're going to use this trip will be located in 2 large aluminum trays, inserts, which fit into the bait tanks. Please don't dig into the other tanks. You'll know if you're in the wrong one when you get about this much water, okay? They're the shallow aluminum inserts. Just get a couple baits. You don't need a big scoop full. It scales and it's no good. Just get a couple, select the one you want, dump the rest back into the bait tank in the insert, put the scoop inside the tank, and go fishing. Okay? Now I know we're all going to be excited, and we'll see it happen. A guy gets a big scoop, he gets what he wants, you drop the scoop back in there. This just acts like a gill net, and it kills all the rest. Okay? Please try and remain calm. You will hear remain calm several thousand times this trip, hopefully. Okay? And please, folks, don't dump the bait in the hand wells. They'll die in here. They need lots of water.
This is a kidney belt right here, or a back harness, and Andy's going to be showing you how to put this on properly and make sure it's comfortable on your lower back here. What I do is just put that on just like you're putting a kidney harness on or a kidney belt on. It fits on your lower back there. It's very, very comfortable. It actually makes your back feel good when you have this on. It's got that nice and snug in place. And what we like to recommend is a plate type belt, not a material belt, a leather belt or a vinyl belt, because the rods you're going to be using have gimbals on them. They really dig in. And then when you're trying to pull on them, they can really hurt you. Where you have a plate belt like this, it really takes the pressure off you and allows you to concentrate more on fighting the fish than hurting yourself. And you're not out here to hurt yourself, that's for sure. Let's snap that on. Now these belts are designed mainly to be used in your legs, a little bit of your back. You see how this plate comes down almost to the bottom of his knee. You see a lot of people make the mistake of holding up, put their plate on really high like that. That is very improper. The bottom of that plate goes almost to the bottom of your knee. So when you rock back, you're pressure using all this muscle on your legs, which is some of the biggest muscles in your body there. Any size guy or woman can fight fish using this type of gear. You don't even have to use your hands or anything. You just sit there on your legs and you can just sit there all day with a fish. The guys, the hot shots, the big muscles trying to pump all day like that, they're not going to last. They're not going to last on a fish. We're going to go ahead and strap a rod in right now for him. Now, in adjusting your rod here, when this thing is up to the rail right here, this is going to be start off about 45-degree angle. You can put it a little more if you like. It depends on how much load you can take on you. At this load here, you can see he's pretty comfortable. He can even let go, and he can sit there like that all day on a fish. That's how you determine the load right there. If he made it a little bit higher, he can put a lot more load on the fish, but then it's putting a little more load on him also. So you want to get that to where you're comfortable. It's going to start off, if the rail is right here, it will start off about like that, about 45 degrees. You can go a little higher if you want. Depends on your rod, how stout of a rod you're going to be using, and so forth. I can demonstrate that. Now, the reason we have the 2-speed reels is, sure, when you're first hooking one and it's staying out away from the boat a little bit, you can put it in high gear because you're able to turn the fish's head no problem. So if it's sitting right here, when your tip's out like that, you're at high speed right there. There's no reason to be at low speed. Now, for some reason, that is not every time. For some reason, if you're not getting any line, you feel you can get a little line in low speed, by all means use it. But for the most part, you're going to be able to take line at high speed at this angle. As the fish comes down below the boat, right here, that's when people have trouble turning the fish. The head is always wanting to point down, and they're trying to go for too big of a wind. And the more big of a wind you go, for the more cranks, the more the fish drops his head, and then he's pulling it again. He's actually taking line every time you're dropping it instead of gaining line. So now you're just going to flip it in low gear. Now it's going straight up and down. Now when he's flipping in low gear, he's just going to sit there, rock and wind on his rod, rock and wind. And notice he doesn't even take big cranks. You don't even have to take a full crank. When you start to get a feel on how that fish is coming, you can either get your full cranks or a half a crank or a quarter crank. The main objective here is just to get line on the reel in any mount, any way you can. But the best way to do it, you're going to see, is he's very comfortable. You notice the plate harness there. All that harness gear is really taking off the load. He's not even going to break a sweat fighting a fish like that. The rock and wind it there. We're just going to keep him rock and wind it. He's not even letting my hand drop down. If he was going for a big crank, you'd see my hand go down like that, and that would be the same as the fish's head. And that's just not going to work for you. And that's our demonstration on the fishing the bluefin this year.
The guys are using sardines for bait. We got a couple of guys catching fish on fly rods even. What I'm going to do is try this type of jig. It doesn't have the normal bill on it like you'd see on most of these type of jigs, but this one will do is just go up to the surface, kind of float. So all I'm going to do is jerk it along the surface to try to get a fish to bite it. So just cast it out. Fishing kind of heavy. We got 60-pound test line. Fish to bite it. Throw the jig out. Oh! Oh! Exploded on it. Now, because I got such a large reel and the drug's tightened down, I can just kind of force them in here, get them up to the boat. Oh, it's a yellowfin tuna. Oh!
There you go. You got it?
Oh! There he is. Come on down, Ian.
Oh, coming back, dude.
Oh! Look at it. Oh, it's a nice yellowfin.
The gap, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah, we got a good size yellowfin tuna right here. Yeah! Woo! This is John. He's the second ticket on the boat. He gaffed this fish for me. And this was the jig that we were talking about earlier. Just working it on the surface, just making it move and stuff, giving it some action, because it really doesn't have any action to itself. You have to do it all with the rod. And when fishing are going crazy like this, I mean, this comes in real handy. You don't have to run the bait tank, grab a bait each time. Just cast it out and the fish are engulfing it. Well, I wish I could say that the tuna fishing was always this good, but as you know, it's not. The lift pulling that you're seeing here is just done as a demonstration to show you the way that the tuna used to be taken in the past.
Get on the lift pole. Hey guys, on the tuna up front. This guy go over the top here until I get down. There we go.
You can never consider a tuna landed until it's in the boat. Even when you think you're doing everything right and you have a fish coming right to the boat, every once in a while you get surprised, either when the hook pulls out, the line breaks, or some other disaster happens and the fish gets away. All we want to do. Okay, go, go, go. Just slowly lift and wind down. Close, gotta keep his head up. Come on, baby. Come on. Well, here's another example of what can happen at the end of a long battle. I battled this tuna for over an hour. 100-pound class tuna, headed right to the boat. Well, you'll see what happens.
Yeah, over here.
We got it. Oh!
Come on, guys, work together here.
Hook popped out, lost it. Now, when you're out here in the tuna grounds, there's a couple of methods that we use to find the fish. Now, the most important method is probably the electronics that we have on board. This boat's furnished with fully Furuno equipment. We have a depth finder, and we have sonar, which helps them find meatballs of fish or meatballs of bait going through the area. Now, on top of the boat, we have what we call a crow's nest, and there's actually a deckhand in there with binoculars looking for jumping fish, kelp patties. Now, the one way that us as anglers participate in trying to find the school fish is by trolling feathers. Now, this one here is made by Zucker. It's got a double hook, mustad hook here with the swivel. Now, the reason for the swivel there is as the bait twirls through the water and spins all over the place, as it bounces around back there, the swivel will keep my line from getting all tangled. I got 80-pound test Berkeley line with a Penn 50 SW 2-speed reel filled with the 80-pound, and I got a Penn International tuna stick. I'm going to go ahead and just lay this back. You don't want to lay it too far back because you want to be able to bring the fish, use this almost like a suction cup to bring the fish to the boat so everybody else gets a chance at fishing. So just lay this back. You want to sit at about the second, almost to the third swell back there. There we go. And we'll go ahead and use these straps, we call them trolling straps, to hold the rod. That way you don't have to stand there the whole time holding the rod up. Just leave it like that. Well, that's just one of the methods that we use here to find the fish. Right now, the crew member's back up there, and the skipper and the rest of the crew is looking at all the electronics, trying to find fish too. Let's see if we can find us some here. Nothing. Hook up! You gotta kiss it now.
Right there. That's yes.
Fly lining the bait, just got it out there. And I got bit. Got a few lines around it here. part of the game here, just trying to get free. We'll work our way away from everybody. Coming through.
You get one, dude.
Yeah.
Right there?
Yeah, right on the top. So what we're trying to do first thing is just get away from everybody, and the fish is cooperating. So now we can start fishing. This should be a bluefin. So for someone that's new to this, what would you suggest? They hook a fish like this, just start kind of try to short pump it, or
Yeah.
hold on? And
One of the problems most people in bluefins have is they just don't pull. And the fish will be soaking for a while.
Fish
And the
get
hooks
too
pull
strong.
out because of where they're holding them. People just don't pull hard enough on them.
So you actually want to pull pretty hard?
Yeah. Depending on the size line you have.
Yeah, I got 40 on here.
You can pull plenty hard with 40 pound.
Okay. And you really don't want to lift too high there, right?
Right. 1 or 2 lines at a time.
There we go. It's coming back. This fish has really kind of been nice to us. Kept us away from the stern so far. Up on the bow, there's not very many people fishing up here. That's one of the nice things when you're fishing on a boat this big. How long is this boat?
124.
124. We got about 50 of it to ourselves right here.
Yep. Do it again, right here.
Yeah!
Good job. Woo! Good job.
Thanks.
She's going.
All right. Woo! Now that's a bluefin. And slide it over. Okay, this is Pat. He's a crew member aboard the Excel. And Pat's the one that was helping me around the bow there and keeping all the lines out of the way. And you get in a fish like this, or really even on a local trip, the crew has a lot to do with your success during the day. And because Pat was able to get me free out of those quick tangles and get me around the bow and watch my line around the sides of the boats, I was able to get this fish. So thanks a lot, Pat. Appreciate it. All right.
Hi, ROLLO HEYN here, and I'd like to talk to you about some of the most popular and effective knots to use for fishing for bluefin or yellowfin tuna, whether it be on the offshore banks off of San Diego, or Laos Rocks, or the Revillagigedo Island chain. Now, one of the most popular knots I recommend, especially to novice fishermen on the Royal Polaris, would be the uni knot. It's a very simple, very easy knot to tie. Secure your hook to something steady. Go through the eye one time. Get a little pinch right about here. And take your line and make one loop. Go around the double line and in the hole 1, 2, 3, or 4 times. Pull the knot towards you and then slide it down. That's the uni knot. We like that a lot, especially, like I said, with newer people that have never tied knots. It holds well, it slides good, and it's very, very small. It doesn't take up much space, and you probably get more bites this way. One other knot, which is very, very popular with long-range fishermen or half-day fishermen or whatever, is the Palomar knot. Now, usually the Palomar knot is one of the first knots that you learn when you start fishing, but it's a very, very strong knot also. All you do is take your line and double it over just about like so. Put it through the hook eye, and then just tie a simple overhand knot, like so. Put the hook eye through the hole, and now just slide it up. Make sure that the loops slide all the way over the eye of the hook. Otherwise, the knot won't cinch down properly. Just about like so. Cut off your tag end, but not too close. That is the Palomar knot, an excellent knot to learn for all kinds of fishing. Another knot, which has become very, very popular and always holds very well, is called the San Diego or improved clinch knot. This knot here, all you do is once again secure your knot to something steady, your hook to something steady, go through the eye, cross your forefinger like so. Now go around the double line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Take your tag in, go through the eye, and then back through the way your finger comes out of the hole. Pull it up and pull it down. This is an excellent knot for just about all kinds of fishing. We do long range style, or if you do it half day or 1 day fishing. Now then, all these knots I mentioned you can use with live bait, jigs, trolling feathers, whatever. They work good for everything. A couple different knots we use to make a double line would be the spider hitch and a bimini twist. Now this makes a double line above your hook especially effective fishing for the large yellowfin tuna down at the 16-day and 18-day trips. Spider hitch, what that does is, it's very, very simple. Make yourself a loop approximately this big, or the longer the loop you want. Usually about 2 feet's plenty. All you do is tie one thing like this, make one little loop like so, then wrap around your thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now you can either go through this way or this way, it doesn't matter. Pull them off slowly off your thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and cinch it down. What this does essentially is, if you have, say, 80-pound test line coming all the way off your reel, you tie a spider hitch, now you have 80 and 80 equals 160-pound test. Many times we'll even tie a hook directly to this double line for good results, especially when the fish are touchy at the long-range islands. Another knot which I talked about was the bimini twist, which essentially does the same thing. It gives you a double line. However, it's a little bit more complicated to tie, and I'd go see my local tackle dealer or learn how to do it from one of the crews on one of your favorite boats.
To show you the gear that I'm using, I've got a Pen 4.0. It's filled with 50-pound silver thread line. And I have a Pen stroker rod, short tuna rod. And I'm in the fight. Some of these fish have been taking over an hour and a half to land. I think the quickest we got was about an hour. So I'm just going to take my time, not get too excited. This fish made a long run, almost took all my line on that first initial run. And he stopped. Wish I had a 2-speed international on right now, but I don't, so I'm just going to take my time and try to enjoy this.
They're running, but as soon as they're done running, you got to keep as much pressure on them as you can, you know.
Just keep pulling on them.
Steady pressure. Not like big jerky lifts, just steady pressure, because at the end you're going to have to pull. For sure, they don't just come up. You're going to have to pull at the end, not at the, like this time, like they are now. Steady, steady pressure.
One of the problems with party boat fishing. That's why you got experienced crews. Thank you, John.
That's it. Guys, you can't let your line drape around the stern like this. If your line's around the corner, follow it around, please.
really gaining much on him.
Come up to the top.
Yeah, he's right up there. He's
He's getting tired.
acting like a carp.
Yeah. They come to the surface so they can breathe.
Oh, is that what they do, John?
Well, because when they're straight up and down and their circle slows down so much,
Uh-huh.
they got to swim a body length a second to push enough water through their gills to survive. So once they get straight up and down and they get too tired to keep moving fast, they swim like up because it's less pressure against them. And as they're coming up, they're getting oxygen.
So that means I'm kind of doing it right then?
Yeah, he's wearing, I mean, he's not done by any stretch of
Oh, no.
imagination, but he's getting tired.
Good, I'm happy I'm not the only one.
As much as we can, man. Good pressure on him. Good pressure. A lot of pressure.
Do we want to make them circle here, or do
We want to keep him up on a surface. As pressure on him as you can.
Okay, John.
Oh boy.
Pressure, Dan. Pressure as much as you can. He might come right to the boat on the top, and I'll get him there, maybe.
It's coming.
Andy, you might have to slide down. Take it, Andy. No, here he comes, Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Keep pulling. Get right back to him, get back to him. Go ahead, Dan, get on him, man, get on him. Get on him, get on him, get on him, get on him. Right here,
Right here, Dan. Pull on him.
Pull. Ah.
Yeah! All right, John. Woo!
All right.
Yeah!
Whoa. Nice tuna.
Woo! All right, thanks, John.
Nice bluefin, Dan.
Thanks. Well, thanks to the help of John and all the crew, this is my first bluefin. I go over 100 pounds. We showed you a lot of bluefin tuna last year. My biggest fish was about 90, 95 pounds. And I have no question this one will go 100.
I think the most important tip that I could give anybody is keeping a live, fresh bait on the end of your line. It seems like those tuna like to bite a live, fresh bait. What I mean by that, here, for example, I have a Spanish mackerel tied on, but the same thing works with the sardine. Once you hook your bait on your line, before you throw it in the water, feel your sardine wiggle. Every time that mackerel wiggles, you can feel the vibration all the way up your line. Therefore, by feeling that, you'll go ahead and cast it out away from the boat. If you always feel that bait wiggle, you always know that there's a chance of catching one. If you don't feel your bait wiggle and your line's still going off your reel, one of three things happened. Either your bait came off, your bait died, it swam underneath the boat, or one of your other passengers accidentally wound you in. All of three are conducive to poor yellowfin tuna fishing. That's the tip of the week, is to change your bait. There's no time frame as how long do I soak my bait, Brian, whether it be 30 seconds, 2 minutes. Keep soaking your bait as long as you feel that bait vibrate and swim in, and when it doesn't, wind it up and change it. And that's my tip of the week.
That's a good tip. Thanks a lot, Brian. This is John SEIGER. He's the skipper over here on the XL with us today. And how am I doing here, John?
You're doing really good.
Now for the...
You're lifting up nice and slow and steady. You're lifting up perfect. Lift up to about eye level and snap down and line. Don't want to get any slack in your line whatsoever. Good job. Notice the fish is circling here, right in front of you. Yeah, keep pulling it down there.
I notice, like when I'm out on, especially on the one-day trips, and sometimes you get a lot of novice guys, when they see the fish go like that, they want to go run.
Yeah, they want to follow it.
Yeah,
Don't when it gets close. These fish tend to just circle around. You just want to stay in one spot. Basically, you're the center of the circle. They'll just circle around you.
And when you get into a good-sized fish like this, I know we lost a lot of fish today because guys are fishing 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And there's no need for that.
No need at all.
We'd have twice
You've been on 40 or 50 pound there.
Yeah, I got 40-pound trilene line, big game. I got a Penn 4.0 and the new Penn Saber stick here. This rod's working out nice.
Real close, there it is, about 15, 20 feet close.
So when the fish gets to the boat like this, just keep doing the same thing?
Just keep doing the same thing, you're doing perfect. You want to lift slow and steady, you don't want to be jerky.
And the whole idea is just to keep the fish coming forward.
On his head, he's coming up.
point his head down there.
One more lift. We got it.
Oh! All right,
There you
nice
go.
job. We even had a tangle line on there. We didn't see that.
Yep. One bluefin tuna there.
Oh!
There you go.
That's a bluefin tuna.
I've got that.
Thanks a lot, John. Well, so far in this tape, we've covered a wide range of different techniques for tuna fishing. But what you're watching right now is an advanced technique called kite fishing. Now, this is something that the crew normally does when the bite gets touchy. And right now, Pat, one of the crew members aboard the XL, is letting out a bait for me to use while kite fishing. The whole key to kite fishing is to just keep the bait hovering right on the water. You don't want the bait to go too deep because you don't want the fish to see the hooks. And the advantage here is when the fish can't see the hook, you can get away with using extremely heavy gear, making it much easier to land your tuna. So we got 100-pound test line here and 2-speed reel. We're just laying the rod down and cranking. These 2-speed reels really come in handy. Yeah, we got deep color.
Lift up high. Just lift up high. Got the other one going? Here we go.
Oh, we got that fish on the kite. We're gonna go ahead, hurry up and set up another one. There's a fish are boiling on the outside, so this way we can use this technique, kite fishing, to get these larger fish. Ryan from the Royal Polaris. You know, you think of large tuna that go from 100 to 300 pounds, maybe even that legendary 400-pounder. You got to think of the Royal Polaris, and Brian, being skipper of that boat, has put many anglers on quality fish like that. I know just recently you guys had a pending world record over
395 pounds.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it was a remarkable catch.
And we're lucky enough to have Brian here to give us a quick tip on fishing for fish of that size.
I think the most important thing, Dan, is don't go elephant shooting. Don't go elephant hunting with the pea shooter. I see it happen all the time, especially with the local fishermen here locally fishing for the large bluefin tuna, whether it be 100 or 150 pounders. The same thing applies for the elephant tuna fishing when we go down below the Laos rocks. Is don't get stuck using a pea shooter elephant hunting. What I mean by that is you go out and there's 100-pound tuna boiling around. You go out with the proper gear like a 6.0 with 60-pound line or an international with heavy line. You throw 2 or 3 baits and you don't get a bite. Everyone else is getting hooked up all around you. So you instantly want to drop down the lighter line. As soon as you drop down the 40-pound line, boom, you're going to hook that tuna of a lifetime. However, you're going to be fighting that thing all the way around the boat and eventually lose it because your gear just can't handle such a big fish. So when you see big fish boiling around and you're in an area where there are big fish, use the gear big enough to handle the fish that you're after. And that's probably the most important tip that I could give for fishing large tuna.
Oh! Well, I hope you enjoyed our tape, How to Tuna with the Pros. Our goal was to show you a wide selection of tuna fishing, all the rods and reels, terminal gear, and to introduce you to the experts, the men who run the ships, who are on the boats every day, who are out there catching the tuna. If it wasn't for these great crews, we wouldn't have a shot at landing tuna like these. I'd like to thank the crews of the Mustang, the Royal Polaris, the Royal Star, the XL, and the Red Rooster 3. Without the help of the crews and owners of these ships, we could have never brought you this tape. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it, and hope to see all you out on the water real soon. Thank you for watching How to Tuna with the Pros.